We are here with Jim Engel from Aquesta Bank, and I want to thank you very much for taking the time out of your busy schedule today. And
Joe, it's my pleasure.
Thank you very much for coming in. First, Jim, I'd like to ask you about your building. You have a very beautiful building in Cornelius, your headquarters. Not only is it green in color, but I understand it's green in workings. It's set up to use some solar power. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. It was very important to our organizers that the bank reflect the community.
Mm-hmm.
And part of that is our community is very attuned to the environment.
Mm-hmm.
And so when we designed the building, we designed it with features that were friendly to the environment. The chief one, of course, is our solar power. We generate electricity directly from the sun using solar panels on the roof of the building. Mm-hmm. We sell that electricity back into the grid. And there's some engineering reasons why it has to be sold back in, but basically we sell it back into the grid. Other features include our glass. Even though it's a glass building, largely glass, it's very well insulated glass. You have to pay a little bit more money for it, but helps reduce costs for heating, cooling, and so forth.
So you're saying that the solar panels actually generate enough power to run the building as well as having excess to sell back?
No.
Okay.
No, they to run the building we use conventional energy.
Okay.
But because the solar panels, when they generate electricity, it's not AC/DC. It's the wrong one.
Right.
Okay,
right.
and I never can remember that, but basically it generates the wrong kind of electricity. So you sell that into the grid, buy electricity back out of the grid.
Oh, I see.
But you, under North Carolina Green Power, you actually get paid 18 cents a kilowatt hour to sell, but you only pay around 8 cents when you're buying. So you actually make a profit on it.
Oh, wow.
And additionally, there's tax credits for federal and state when you put the solar power up. And it amounts to about 65% of the cost of putting the panels
So
on the
overall,
building.
it makes sense to do it.
Overall, it does. I will tell you, you have to really want to do it. There are very few engineers who really can take you from A to Z on getting the panels onto the building. You have people who know a lot about solar panels. You have people who know a lot about building buildings. You got to get someone to put them together.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah. Let's talk about Jim Engel, his visions, the visions of the Board of Aquesta.
Sure. When I decided to start the bank, my vision there, and the one I shared with our organizers and our shareholders, was to be really the predominant community bank in the area. When we first opened up, there were no other community banks here. Probably the only exception was Mooresville Savings, which really was a home lender. Mm-hmm. But we were the only community bank. All the others were either regional or the very large banks, obviously. And by preeminent community bank, what we want to do is offer the best service to local business people, local residents around Lake Norman. And so our focus area is Mooresville down to Huntersville, and then on the other side of the lake, the Denver area. And at this point, we've made good progress in that, really because we have such great people. You know, sometimes better lucky than good. You have that vision of having a good bank, but hiring the right people is what really makes the difference. And we've been very lucky in that regard. We have some very, very talented, personable bankers working for us.
What delineates a community bank from a larger bank? Because everybody is at the point where they really, with these bailouts and the TARP money and these big salaries that are all over the news, people are really getting crazy with these big banks. I mean, the community bank has a totally different concept, I believe. Mm-hmm. I believe going back to the community bank concept, what is the differences between your bank and a larger bank, without mentioning names?
Well, you know, banking is largely generic. And by that I mean people borrow money and they put in money for deposits. And, you know, money's money. And so you have to distinguish yourself some other way. For community banks, the way we distinguish ourselves, and I think all community banks try to do this, is service. There are a lot of customers who want to be known when they come into the bank. There are a lot of customers who rarely come into the bank but when they need something, they really want personal service. And those are the kind of customers that gravitate to community banks. It used to be very difficult for community banks to compete against the big banks, primarily because of technology. The cost of technology was prohibitive for a smaller bank. Well, much like someone's home computer or TVs and iPods and so forth, all the prices of that kind of stuff have come down. Today, community banks can offer very good service, but they also can offer all the technology, internet banking, online bill pay, etc., that the big banks offer, but we can do it now because that kind of technology is largely right off the shelf. And so you're correct. A lot of people are coming back to the small banks. And I think the biggest reason is service. They want service.
Yeah, what I've noticed in a lot of community banks, and to go back to your personnel, is that in larger banks environments, there's a big turnover of personnel in our branches.
Mm-hmm.
But typically in a community bank, you always see the same people all the time. Because I try and do most of my business with small community banks. I hate to use the word small,
mm-hmm.
but with community banks. But there's not as much of a turnover of personnel. You see the same tellers, you see the same
Right.
officers on the floor. So I think that's very important.
Well, a big part of that is just the nature of the banking.
Mm-hmm.
People who go and get jobs at the big banks, most of them want to go up the ranks. They want to move up the ladder, and they envision being way up in the corporate environment somewhere.
Right.
And so what happens at the big banks is there's sort of an up or out mentality. If you're good, you do get promoted and you move up the ranks. If you're not good, they generally will fire you, and you'll look somewhere else for work.
Right.
And the other people will stay around. Whereas in community banks, people who take jobs with the smaller banks want the role that they're applying for. We have tellers who want to be bank tellers. They don't want to be a customer service rep. They don't want to be management. They want to be a bank teller. They enjoy it, and they enjoy the people. And I can say that about almost every position in the bank. And that really prevents or stops that turnover mentality. And because of that, there is consistency. When you come in year one and open up accounts and take a loan out, in year 2 or 3 or 4, the same people are around, and they know you, they know your family, they know your business, and that allows them to make decisions quicker. It makes them, allows them to be more flexible in
Right.
the kind of decisions they make.
It seems really the theme of community banking on both sides of the fence, on the consumer end and on the banking end. It's not really all about the money, it's all about people.
It really is.
Yeah, it seems to be that.
I think when we were forming the bank, people would ask me about our strategic direction and what is going to make you different. And I would talk about hiring people and how we're going to treat people differently. But I would say, this doesn't sound sexy. It doesn't sound, wow, innovative. But the fact is that people are what make the difference. And it's that kind of thing. And when customers are looking for that kind of relationship, they'll work with community banks.
Well, we're going to take a short break, and we're going to talk about money. We're going to talk about some loans and what community banks do.
Very good.
Okay.
Thanks, Joe.